kind of erotic to get three men
to agree to something like this on a Friday night.
We made history last night, boys and girls. We had our very first threesome. We also made the very first three-way trade in your Idiot Leaguemates.
The first three-team trade has just gone down in your Idiot Leaguemates history.
Pookie Bear Division said, if you're not in us, pause, stay out the trade offers. Myself, Uncle Steen, Nephew Steen, JMO, and Casey. A three-way bonanza. Let me set the stage for you, okay? Throughout the course of this week, Casey realized, hey, I drafted a horrendous team. I'm sitting at 0-2, and I might not win a game this entire season if I don't make a move, because right now my running back 2 is a choice between Kyle Monangai and Justice Hill. That's like having to choose between mushrooms and olives as your only toppings on a pizza. So he starts to trade discussions with me, looking at my team and say, Nick, you drafted so well. Why do you have Jacobs and Achane and Chuba? It's a luxury. It's an embarrassment of riches at this point. Can I have one? Me, being the good person, the good friend, philanthropist at that, said, I can break you off a piece of what I got going on over here. BTJ Laporta. That was the original offer. And as we discussed through in the waiver wire show, I said to myself, listen, if I get rid of Jacobs, all I have at running back is Achane and Chuba. So while that might look like a W on paper for everybody out there, like, oh, of course that's good value. In a full PPR league, getting Laporta, top 6-7 tight end, you get BTJ, who, you know, that's a risky asset to bring on right now. I am, as a businessman, I typically side on the air of pessimism, or I should say cautiousness, all right? I am optimistically cautious, but I don't want to go all in on an asset that might blow up in my face. And that kind of feels like what Brian Thomas Jr. is at this point.
All right, morning after the big trade. Had some time to sleep on it. I feel good, not great. Anytime you give up a high ceiling player for a high floor player, naturally you're going to just think of all the negative scenarios where BTJ starts to pop off. But my team, 1, needed a running back, and 2, needed stability. Josh Jacobs in that Packers offense is going to be exactly what I needed, which is a running back and high floor stability. Now, is BTJ going to be a top 5 wide receiver for the rest of fantasy? Most likely. But sometimes when your team is not in a great spot, you have to give up things that you don't want to.
With Josh Jacobs, if I were to give him up, I'd have these 2 running backs. So I said, listen, I do have a lot of wide receivers right now. I got Jamar Chase, I got George Pickens, I got Chris Olave, I got Juwan Jennings, I got Romeo Doubs. There's got to be someone out there that would be cool with a 1-for-1 swap. Someone who's got a lot of running backs that might need a wide receiver 3. I said, Stain.
You have JMO getting Chris Olave, sending away DeAndre Swift. He gets a $26 of fab, which I love. I love that JMO's like hoarding fab. Like throwing out $0 bets for players, trading for fab. We'll see if he goes all in on anybody, but I think Swift is like kind of banged up this week. It seems like he's losing his role, so I think him getting Olave is huge because Matthew Golden's not running enough routes to start on a weekly basis. We'll see what happens with Troy Franklin. So JMO gets a W.
Straight up, I think DeAndre Swift might be a better fantasy asset for Chris Olave in a vacuum, like 1-for-1. But this is about what does my team need? And it needed a wide receiver 3. I had 4 running backs. This week, there was a chance DeAndre Swift was going to be on my bench. And I was going to be starting Troy Franklin at wide receiver 3. Troy Franklin, nice waiver wire pickup, but we got a 1-week sample size. I want some consistency. I want some reliability. Chris Olave provides me that.
First of all, I am very surprised that JMO actually made this trade right now because he's playing Casey this week. Casey's RB2 slot was going to have Kyle Monangai or Justice Hill in it, and now it has Josh Jacobs. Now, instead, his wide receiver 3 is going to be Adam Thielen, but I feel like that is still a bigger upgrade over what Hill or Monangai could have been. It kind of just feels like JMO will hurt his odds for this week specifically.
And I like this because I also think it gives me a better chance at beating Casey this week, which did go into my mindset of this trade and why I wanted to do it, because Casey's a fucking idiot. And I noticed he started Khalil Shakir in his flex spot this week. So that means he now has a hole at wide receiver 3 and is going to have to put in someone like Adam Thielen or Rashad Bateman. So he's a cone.
Steen's got hella running backs right now because he has Jordan Mason now with Aaron Jones out. He's got Kenneth Walker, who played really well last week, Zach Charbonnet out. He's got fucking, I don't even remember anymore, James Conner, DeAndre Swift. He's got a bunch of workhorses. I said, we can figure something out here because right now, your wide receiver 3 spot stinks. He likes Olave. I like James Conner, DeAndre Swift, whatever laundry you want to throw. All I needed was an RB3. All I needed was a guy at the end of Chuba and Devon Achane, because if one of those guys gets hurt, bye weeks come, I'm literally filling that RB2 slot in with fucking Ray Davis or Roshan Johnstein. Like, I'm not going to beat Casey. I'm just not going to do that. So I couldn't make an irresponsible decision trading for BTJ and Laporta without having that RB3. Hopefully BTJ can bounce back. And I also took on Swift. I understand I probably took on the 2 riskiest assets in this deal. So while everybody might like it on paper, there's absolutely still risk involved in what I did here. But I do think the rest of my team is strong enough that I'm not too worried about those assets, flopping over or anything like that.
It depends on how much you're giving up on Brian Thomas. Like, if we were to redraft today, Josh Jacobs is pretty easily like a mid-second. Where does Brian Thomas go? Does Brian Thomas go mid to late second? Does he go 3rd round? I think that he'd probably go mid to late second. So adding Laporta to Brian Thomas to get Jacobs, like, I hate to say this, fellas. This might be a cop-out answer, but I kind of think this is a really even trade all around. I think if anybody loses, it's Casey. You're maybe selling Brian Thomas low. I don't get trading for Mark Andrews, though, on this team. It's like Jake Ferguson's more than fine. There's no reason. So we had Jake Ferguson and Laporta. I like selling Laporta, but I wouldn't want Andrews in return. I think I would have wanted something else from Nick.
When you just put the trade on the screen, for people, they're probably going to think I got fleeced because I kind of just threw in Nick needed a tight end, so I threw in Laporta because I have Ferguson. Like, I was in a position where I was starting to have to sit Ferguson and Laporta. Like, in that Dallas offense where they're going to be playing shootouts the entire time, I think Ferguson's like tight end 6 right now. I mean, it's a 2-week sample size, but nonetheless, I liked Ferguson kind of over Laporta. So if that's what got the deal over the line, I was down for that. And then people are also going to think that, like, I felt strongly about Ray Davis or Mark Andrews, which I obviously did not. Ray Davis, I think, is a good handcuff if Cook goes down. Ty Johnson, I think, is still the 3rd down back and the pass catching back as he is, but I think Ray Davis takes over pretty much all of that James Cook role. And then having Mark Andrews as my backup tight end, if he figures out his life, he probably doesn't. It's fine if I play him 1 week and it's Ferguson's bye week. I'm fine with that. So yeah, I feel good about the trade.
Now, originally when we were on the couch, he was going to give up Laporta and not get any tight end back. The fact that he got Mark Andrews back now in this 3-team trade, I do like that a little bit more for Casey. He also got the Ray Davis part that he really wanted. Laporta to Andrews is definitely a downgrade, but I don't think it's something that Casey can't manage.
Like, I think instead of making this a 3-way deal, I think that this should have just been Brian Thomas and Sam Laporta for Josh Jacobs and Chris Olave. That's what I would have done if I was Casey, because then you could get another wide receiver on this team. Right now he's playing Adam Thielen in his wide receiver 3 spot. So that could have been Olave, it could have been Jacobs, and then you could have cut out J-Mo, because I think J-Mo makes out the best here.
Trade reaction, I'm going to give it to J-Mo. He gets the wide receiver he needed, a little thin at running back now, but his starters looking good, gets the fab. Other side of the trade, does BTJ suck or not? That's what's going to determine how it goes between the other two. If he does, sucks for Nick. If he's still good, sucks for Casey, but I'm giving it to J-Mo for the trade win.
Another reason I did this, I don't think DeAndre Swift is that good. I think he's in a great fantasy role, but I don't know if it's like guaranteed to stay great. Him not being an actual good running back, I think could cost him some fantasy usage eventually. I'm a little bit of a believer in Kyle Monungai. Maybe I shouldn't be a believer in a late round rookie, but I just think DeAndre Swift's that bad. And also the Bears themselves are kind of pretty bad.
I know a lot of people, there's like this whole brigade of people that say DeAndre Swift sucks right now. The guy just had 1,300 total yards from scrimmage with fucking Shane Waldron out there in Chicago. I went back and watched every snap of Chicago this season so far. DeAndre Swift, everybody just keeps posting about like EPA per rush. He's been fine. Kyle Monungai is not coming for his fucking job. This 7th rounder who's got like 8 fucking touches through 2 games is not stealing DeAndre Swift's job. Let's get real with ourselves here. If we're looking at rushing yards over expectation per attempt, which is what the nerdy analytics people love to talk about, DeAndre Swift is on this list. You know who's right next to him? Jameer Gibbs. You know who's underneath him with worse marks of rushing yards over expectation? Let me list the names for you. Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey. A lot of good running backs. We're getting caught up in 2-game sample sizes. There's nobody else in that backfield. I don't know why I'm wasting my time standing up for DeAndre Swift. We're all going to see. Time will tell.
So Nick gets Laporta, which is huge. Him getting out from underneath Mark Andrews is actually kind of massive. I'll give him that. He sells Jacobs, which I actually kind of like for him as somebody that... Oh man, does he acquire Swift in this deal? See, now that I don't love. I think JMO's the big winner here. Why would you... I guess he's thin at RB3. I guess, like, wanting to sell Jacobs, you want that replacement. But I feel like A-Chain and Hubbard get the job done. Who's his receiver after... He still has Jawan Jennings off the bench. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with Swift. I just don't really like Swift. But, yeah, getting out from underneath Andrews, acquiring Brian Thomas to feel better about your receiver room. We'll see. Brian Thomas is spooky. Like, anyone that's like, well, Nick wins this trade pretty handedly, we'll see. Brian Thomas has been ass. He's gotten all the volume in the world. He has some kind of wrist injury. If the wrist injury is a big deal, which we saw last year with Tyreek Hill, like wrist injuries for a player who has to catch the ball is a big deal. And you're only going, like, yes, he's gotten a ton of volume, but you're only going to get that much volume if you make good on the volume. Like, you're not just going to continue to get peppered with targets if you're going to drop passes and not be good.
A lot of people are going to overlook the fab dollars, but me now having an extra 26 fab, no one in the league has more fab than me. No one. And you might be like, fab's not that important, but we're still in week 3 of the season. There's been no big injuries. And I don't need quarterbacks. Like, we had Joe Burrow, but, like, there's been no running back handcuff injuries, no wide receiver injuries. If someone opens up, like a serious running back handcuff opens up, I now have all the cash in the world to spend, overspend, do whatever I want, and go get that guy.
If Ayuk comes back, becomes the solidified number 2, my wide receivers are JSN, Ayuk, and McLaurin, and then my running backs are Saquon and Jacobs, I think my team has a chance. So I'm really happy about the trade.
Either way, now I think I have a formidable 1-2 punch at receiver with Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas Jr., Pickens as the third is love that. You got Laporta. When I'm looking at my lineup right now, I don't have like a ton of strength at quarterback, especially with Purdy out right now. I have guys that can get by with at QB. Stafford, Trevor Lawrence right now, and until Purdy gets back. So that's like my weakness in my lineup, but I really don't see many holes. Like when they play tough matchups, like this week is going to be a little bit tough because Stafford's at Philadelphia. T-Law's got to play Houston. I would love to get Purdy in there against Arizona, but I doubt he ends up suiting up here. Those are going to be my weaknesses, however. The rest of my lineup, though, I really don't see holes. I don't see guys that I'm like, oh, I expect them not to score double digits for me.
I do think that Nick faces the fewest downsides of this trade and only really improves. He gets that improvement at tight end. He gets the improvement of receiver, and his running backs are still solid. So if I were to pick a winner to this trade, I think Nick takes this one down.
Top to bottom, no holes. Maybe could use some RB depth now that I don't have an RB4, but again, if anything opens up, I now control the waiver wire. Whoever I want is mine. That's power I like because, again, there is so early in the season. There's been no injuries. Now, injuries could get turned on. I'm going to still be able to put some Band-Aids around the place. I'm not going to say, like, oh, if Malik Neighbors go down, I could go buy Darius Slayton and my team's fine, but I could, again, afford any Band-Aid that I want.
I would say JMO, big W. Nick, probably, like, neutral to small win. And then Casey, pretty easy L. And it's not even that the value was super, super off. It's actually pretty off, to be honest. But then also, I don't understand I don't understand the Ray Davis and Mark Andrews over Chris Olave discussion. I'd be curious to know if Nick would have done Jacobs and Olave for Laporta and Brian Thomas.
So I feel really good about my trade. I feel like I won. JMO, I'm just going to say he won because he just did something that was good for his team. And then it's like, you ask yourself, if there's a 3-team trade, how does Nick and JMO both win? I'll tell you, because Casey loses. Casey's the fat fucking loser in this trade.
Regardless, I think I won. I think me and Nick are about even. I think Swift's gonna have some big weeks that I like roll my eyes over, like, God damn it. But I also think there's a risk to him. And then Casey, I think he just panicked. It's gonna be big though this week. I have the Green Bay quarterback Jordan Love, and he's got Josh Jacobs. Like that could be a big swing in our own matchup. If it's just like a Jacobs day and not a Love day with Reed out, with Kraft out, he's gonna think he won if he wins the matchup. But long term, I think I did good. I think Nick did good. Casey, cone.
Everyone wrote my team off. I think this allows my team to get back into the race.
All right, first 3-team trade in the history of the Pookie Bear division. We kept it in-house while division play was still going on. It just doesn't get more electric than that. Week 3 hasn't even started. The trades are starting to kick off. It started slow, but we had a trade a couple days ago. We got a trade last night. I wouldn't be surprised if this shit is not done by the end of the weekend. But there you have it, first 3-team trade in history. Go have yourselves a big day.